Hi everyone, welcome back to the Arun Sharma Mindworks channel, and this is a new series I'm doing for all of you. I hope all of you are very excited about this. And by the way, thank you so much for 50,000 subscribers. I want to give my thanks from the bottom of my heart to each one of you. I know I've been missing from YouTube for the last couple of months, very often on presence, but it's that time of the year when I have to actually focus on the revision of my books, and it's actually a huge responsibility to bring out books that have, there's so many things you have to look at because there's so many hands which work on the book. It's not like I put it on my computer and it goes out to print. So there are a lot of things that you have to take care of, and we try to minimize the errors around this time. So it's actually very tedious to go through 1,500, 2,000 pages at one go within a month's time. So that's one of the reasons I've been missing from YouTube for the last couple of months. Those of you wanting to know, the 9th edition of the Quants book is expected to come in end of May, and the DI and LR new editions, I think DI 7th edition and Logical Reasoning 6th edition, they will be coming sometime towards June. So those of you waiting for those books, you can look out for that. So anyway, coming back to the series that I was talking about, this is a new series that I'm bringing for you. And this is in the context of a lot of people. I did that last series on Quants Question of the Day, where we did season 1 of it with 12 questions on numbers. And I'll bring more seasons on it also. But ye wala series, a lot of people have been asking me to essentially help you understand about the data interpretation and logical reasoning parts of the exam. And a lot of people got stumped with the CAT 2020 DI and LR papers. DLR section. So I was trying to investigate, was it actually tough? Everybody is talking about that the CAT 2020 data interpretation and logical reasoning section was very, very tough in the context of what they were asked in the previous years. But I have my own opinions about that, and this is session 1. So obviously there'll be more sessions on this, where I'll actually bring to you the process and the solving structures behind the CAT DILR sections. What do you need to do to get those 12 marks, and from there you can extrapolate back to what you need to do for your preparation. So one thing you need to understand before I start this series, the first message that I want to give you is that for the IIMs and for the people setting the CAT paper, the DILR section is a very important aspect of what they want to check. Is because in quants what happens is you have reached a point with my books and with study materials and so many systems of training available. People have reached a point in their preparation where it's very difficult to surprise a well-prepared student in quants. So if I want to give a question in time, speed, distance, it's very difficult for me to surprise you on that question with something new which you have not seen, if you are prepared well, of course. Goes to say without much logical explanation required, goes to say that if you're not prepared well, of course it's very easy to surprise you. But for a well-prepared aspirant, it's very difficult to surprise you if you've done your basic work in quants. So for CAT question setters, the DILR section is the one area in which they actually throw you off your preparation. And for them it's very important to actually throw you off your preparation and then see how you are how you are coming up or how you are reacting to that. So I think that's the basic reason why people fail in DILR. And of course, as I said, from what I'll show you, my second thoughts on this issue is that the DILR in this DILR series, I actually want to show you that CAT questions are actually not so tough as they are supposed to be, or as the general logic goes. So my thoughts are that actually it's 5 steps, 7 steps, 8 steps questions. So if you look at the CAT 2020 this thing, and I'm not just going to be theoretical about this in this series, I'm going to actually give you some very, very concrete high quality information which will help you understand why I say that the paper is not tough. So what I've done in this first video is I've taken a question from the CAT 2020 DILR section, And when I decided which paper to pick up, I decided that I should pick up the most difficult one. So CAT 2020 slot 3 was supposed to be the most difficult one, and people, high quality people with very high degree of experience of solving and well prepared people came out of the slot 3 paper with solving 6 questions, 8 questions, right? So I just wanted to show you one of the first sets that I'll come on, and I'll of course continue this series, and I'll show you that it was very easy to do maybe 15-16 questions in DI-LR in the slot 3 paper. Of course, hindsight is a great teacher, so you can discount a little bit the ease with which I'll show you the solutions. You can discount a little bit because you have to do this inside the exam under time pressure. So वो aspect को calculate कर लेना, लेकिन actually let's have a look at whether these questions are really as difficult as they seem to be. So I'm picking up a question from CAT 2020 slot 3. It's a set with 4 questions on it, and this set starts with something like this. Let's just start reading the set from top. I guess you can see this. The question starts with 16 patients in a hospital undergo a blood test for a disease, right? It is known that exactly one of them has the disease. So 16 patients are going through a blood test for a disease. It is known that exactly one of them has the disease. The hospital has only 8 testing kits. I mean, typical of COVID times and COVID periods. I hope all of you are safe in this, and please make sure that you are safe, following social distancing, following the mask. If required, wear double masks, because we all need to be safe and we need to get through this as a country. But anyway, coming back to this, the hospital has only 8 testing kits and has decided to pool blood samples of patients into 8 vials for the tests. Okay, so 16 patients, they are pooling blood samples into 8 vials. The patients are numbered 1 through 16, and the vials are numbered A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. The following table shows the vials into which each patient's blood sample is distributed. So you have this table here in front of you, which shows that patient 1, for instance, his blood sample went to vials B, D, F and H, while patient 2's blood sample went into the vials B, D, F and G. Right, so obviously, if the remaining part of this question here, which talks about this is pretty logical what it talks about down here. If a patient has the disease, then each vial containing her blood sample will test positive. If a patient has the disease, then each vial containing her blood sample will test positive. If a vial tests positive, one of the patient whose blood samples were mixed in the vial has the disease. Please remember, in this question it tells us that there is only one patient who has the disease, right? If a vial tests negative, then none of the patients whose blood samples were mixed in the vial has the disease. So this is pretty logical, and you can read that part, and I hope you can also download this question, this from the slot 3 of CAT 2020. Do try to take this question on your own before you watch my solution on this. So I mean, if one of these patients is sick or has the disease, so if let's say patient 7 has a disease, what will happen is B, C, E and H, these 4 vials, there are 8 vials, these 4 vials will turn up positive, and all the other vials will turn negative, right? But of course, if you only test vial B and vial B turns positive, what you can work out is that any of patients 1 to 8 can have the disease, because the blood of all these patients is inside this. So that makes sense. So nothing more to do in this, and I think this part of the problem is maybe 2 to 3 minutes. understanding what the structure is. So nothing more to do. So you go to the questions and you see the first question in this set, and the question says, suppose while C tests positive, and while AEH tests negative, which patient has the disease? While C tests positive, C is positive and AEH are negative. So if C is positive, one of the patients whose blood has gone into C will be the patient who is positive. So we just check through this list and we find out that basically patients 5, 6, 7, 8 and patients 13, 14, 15, 16, these 8 patients would have, one of those patients will have the disease. So we eliminate 1, 2, 3, 4 and 9, 10, 11, 12. But then when it is told to me that A is negative, any patient with A whose blood sample has gone into A can't be testing positive or is actually negative for the disease, which means we can eliminate 13, 14, 15 and 16 because all of them have A there, right? I hope you can see that, but otherwise I'll just zoom this. Patients 13, 14, 15, 16, as you can see, all have A, and hence my shortlist of who's got the disease with C positive and A negative is 5, 6, 7, 8. And then the problem further says that E is negative. So if E is negative, patient 7, 8 are disease free, and if H is negative, patient 5 is disease free. So that leaves only patient 6. I'll repeat that. E negative tells me that patient 7 and patient 8 are not carrying the disease, because otherwise while E would have come positive, and H negative means patient 5 can't have the disease. So from the 8 shortlist we had, 8 patient shortlist we had, only 1 patient is left, and hence the disease is with patient 6. And this is pretty much maybe what, 1 minute max to do this question, and you are on +3 marks in the CAT 2020 paper, where you know what happened, the hierarchy that happened. 7 questions was what good students did in the DILR, and we got 40 minutes to do this. This is 3-4 minutes. Of course, there's the other part of being able to reach the set, but I'll give you the philosophy as we keep going ahead here. Let's look at the next question, and you try to do it yourself before you see my solution. Suppose while A tests positive and while D and G tests negative. Okay, let's come here. A tests positive and D and G test negative. Okay, let's take out the information first. Which of the following vials should we test next to identify the patient with the disease? Okay, so A is positive. So A is positive means we are looking at patients 9 to 16. And if D is negative, then patients 9 to 12 are eliminated, they cannot have the disease. And further, G is negative, so patient 14 and patient 16 is eliminated. So which vial should we test? We have to identify the diseased patient as either 13 or 15 in this case. And between 13 and 15, if you look at them, you'll realize that the differentiator between 13 and 15, AC is common, H is common. The differentiator is F versus E. So you will have to test one of F or E to decide whether 13 is positive or 15 is positive. If you test F, for example, it turns negative, then 15 will be the answer. If F turns positive, 13 becomes the answer, and so on. So also you can test while E also here. So E or F are the two vials that are possible to be tested at this point. And if you look at the options, there's only one of them in the options, and that's very clearly +3 marks again. You don't need to check the solution because it is 100% structured according to what you have just worked out. 6 marks, less than 5 minutes yet on this set. Let's look at the last 2 questions. Which of the following combinations of test results is not possible? Which of the following combinations of test results is not possible? So we'll have to test each one of this one by one. B positive, CFH negative. Let's see, we'll have to test this one by one. Of course, यहाँ पे I have the disadvantage that I have to go back and forth on the picture, but In the exam you will have the table right there in front of you, in front of this question. So ये जो आगे पीछे मेरे को करना पड़ रहा है, that you will not need to do in the exam. So B positive, CFH negative. So let's see, is this possible? The possibility will of course depend on whether you have one patient who's possibly positive, or you're able to actually identify one patient who's positive. So B positive means patients 1 to 8 are the shortlist for the diseased person. C negative, patient 5, 6, 7, 8 are eliminated. F negative, patients 1 and 2 are eliminated. H negative, patient 3 is eliminated. You are able to identify patient 4 as the diseased person, the person who has a disease. So this is feasible, right? I'll just repeat that. B positive, shortlist 1 to 8. C negative removes 5, 6, 7, 8 from the shortlist. F negative removes 1 and 2 from the shortlist. H negative removes 3 from the shortlist. So patient 4 you are able to identify. So this group of tests, or this outcome of tests, is definitely possible. The question, remember, is about which of the following test results is not possible. So this is possible, so this is not the right answer. Let's look at option B. Vials A and E positive and C and D negative. So in this case, vials A and E are positive and C and D are negative. So यहाँ पे obviously if you apply your common sense, you realize that the shortlist is for people who have vials A and E as part of their vials in which their blood has gone. So if A and E are positive, where is A and E? So if you look through this, you'll find A and E on 11, 12 and A and E also on 15, 16. So you've got a short list of 4 patients, 11, 12, 15, 16. One of them has to be diseased. And if C is negative, 15, 16 get eliminated. They can't be diseased if C is negative. And if D is negative, 11, 12 will be eliminated, which will leave you no patient who is positive then, which is against the structure of the question, because the question tells you that one of the blood samples has to be positive, one of the patients is diseased, one of them has the disease. The question tells you that very clearly. So you cannot have a situation. So very clearly this is the correct answer in this case. You can of course test BD positive, FH negative, and AG positive and DE negative. You will see that for example BD positive, FH negative कर लेते हैं. ऑप्शन सी को मैं एलिमिनेट करा देता हूँ तुम लोग के लिए. BD positive and FH negative, option C. Let's have a look. BD positive and FH negative. BD positive means it's patients 1 to 4. FH negative means 1 is eliminated, 2 is eliminated, 3 is eliminated. Patient 4 has the disease. So you're able to identify in this case again. So this is okay. I mean, clearly option 3 is the right answer here. And you can do your check for the 4th one. Inside the exam, you should have the confidence to mark this 1 point ago. And the last question. Typically, the DILR sets, the last couple of questions force you to think a little bit more than what the first few questions have made you think. But let's try to think about this. Suppose one of the lab assistants accidentally mixed 2 patients' blood samples before they were distributed to the vials. So you have to stop at this point and you have to understand what is happening. What is happening is उसने 2 patients, any patient, patient X and patient Y को mix कर दिया before they were distributed to the vials. Which of the following correctly represents the set of all possible numbers of positive test results out of the 8 vials? Let's take an example. Suppose P1 P2 को mix कर दिया उसने. Question क्या पूछ रहा है? Let's understand the question. Which of the following correctly represents the set of all possible number of positive test results out of the 8 vials? So what can happen in this case? And the options are 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One option is 5, 6, 7, 8. A third option is 4, 5. And what's your last option? The last option is 4, 5, 6, 7. We are talking about how many vials will turn positive, can turn positive. So let's say I mix patient 1 and patient 2 blood. इसका मिक्स हो गया तो क्या होगा, पेशेंट 1 के बॉक्स में भी पेशेंट 2 का ब्लड जाएगा और पेशेंट 2 के वायल्स में भी पेशेंट 1 का ब्लड जाएगा, बिकॉज द ब्लड्स आर मिक्स्ड. So what will happen here is, for example, if I mix patient 1 and patient 2, and if one of them is positive, let's say one of them is positive, right? If one of them is positive, so what will happen is B, D, F, H and G, these 5 vials will turn out positive. So there's a possibility of 5 definitely, but 5 is there in the answer in every case. So you're trying to see whether you can go to 4 or you can go to 8, because those are differentiating values. 5, 6, 7 तो ये तीनों ऑप्शन में है, इसमें 6, 7 नहीं है, right? So you have to apply a little bit of your mind here and try to see कि okay, what could be the cases. There could be a case where I mix patient 1 and 2 and patient 1 and 2 both are not infected because one of the patients is infected. Let's say patient 5 is infected. तो patient 1 and 2 का blood mix होने से patient 5 का ही sample में the vials in which patient 5 blood goes, only those samples will turn positive. So in this case there will be 4 possibilities. So in a situation like this, we talked about a situation where P1 and P2, let's say P1 was infected. One of them was infected, P1 was infected. तो P1 के 4 samples में तो positive आएगा ही और P2 के 4 samples में भी positive आएगा. But P1 and P2 have 3 samples which are same. So there's an additional sample of G which will become positive in this case. So you'll get 5 positives if P1, P2, one of them is infected. But if one of them is not infected, P1, P2 both do not have the disease and P5 has the disease, for example. So the vials which will turn positive will be only those vials which have P5's blood, and that would be BCFH4. So that means 4 is possible, which means we can eliminate 5, 6, 7, 8. We can eliminate 5, 6, 7, 8 easily, right? So yeah, either 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So by this time you should then start realizing what if I take the mixing. The mixing, they have not told me कि 1 and 2 का ही mix करना है. They are telling me that you are free to mix any 2 bloods. We don't know which bloods he has mixed. So imagine you mix bloods of P1 and P16. Why we are spotting P16 is because the vials of P16 are different from the vials of P1. And let's say P1 has the disease. So P1's blood is going into BDFH, all will turn positive. And P1's blood is also going into ACEG. And because P1 has the disease, these will also turn positive. So there will be a total of 8 positives in such a case, which means 4 is also possible and 8 is also possible. And there's only one option that includes both those number of vials between 4 to 8, and that's the correct answer. So this was 12 marks in the CAT 2020 DI paper. I don't think this should require more than 6-7 minutes to solve this. But the problem that happens for most students, the problem I have seen all the time, is they have not gone to the level of belief. 2 things. One is that you would not have seen a question like this. No matter how much you have done in DI beforehand, you have to solve. There are doubts that happen in your mind as you start solving this question. So there will be points inside the question where you'll have to resolve your doubts yourself. And unfortunately, most students I see, through their entire preparation process, they are not resolving their own doubts. They are going to teachers, they are going to friends, they are going to groups, they are going to WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups and Facebook groups to solve their doubts. और प्रॉब्लम मैं यही पूछता हूँ स्टूडेंट से कि जब एग्ज़ाम में डाउट होगा तो क्या करोगे, किसके पास जाओगे. सो यू हैव नॉट, द प्रॉब्लम इज यू हैव नॉट डेवलप्ड योर, and this is the only reason why with questions like this people are not able to solve more than 8-10 questions inside a 40-minute exam. So whenever there was a doubt during preparation phase, they were going to someone else. That someone else is no longer there when you're solving the exam. It's you, your brain and the question, and you're not practiced that. That's number one. And the second is you're not gone to the level of belief where you are telling yourself in your preparation, you have learned how to do things, but you've not gone to that that final point of belief where you tell yourself कि मुझको यकीन है, I know what this is, I know who I am, I know my problem solving skills, and I can handle anything that they throw at me. So if things get tough, I trust myself to cross the line. So if you've not done that, then the CAT will actually shred your mind to pieces. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I'll bring more in the DILR series for you. Please do share the video. Do help us get, I mean, my next journey is from 50,000 to 1 lakh subscribers. Do help us to get there fast, because the more you do it and the more the videos get views, the more I get motivated to actually spend time and push myself to do this for you. And I hope I can help all of you along the way. Thank you so much. I'll see you next in the next video. Bye bye for now. See you.